They are, aren't they? The nations are going mad.
Yes,
That
is this Matthew 24?
Yeah, I think it's in several places, but yeah, the nations gone mad. I think it's in Revelation, in Jeremiah,
Huh.
and one of the reasons it talks about for the nations going mad is because all the kingdoms of the earth drank, sort of the concept is drinking wine with the deep state.
Mm. Yeah,
And
good
the
point.
whore, like
Or
the
Babylon, yep.
yeah, the daughter of Babylon, that made all the kings of the earth drunk on the wine of her whoring.
Hmm.
And
Jezebel.
yeah, and so I sort of feel like when with the concept of judgment begins in the house of God, like I really feel like to a large degree now we're really separating ourselves and in a process of repenting. But gosh, I went along with it as a dad. I put my kids in school. I did all the stuff that everybody else did. So I can't. But we're repenting from that. But we all participated in like sort of like whoring with the beast.
Hmm.
But I'm seeing some, like, I know you're talking a lot about it because it's incredible right now. A lot of the things that's happening with these renewal of commitments in the military and like around, I think it was just after the Kirk Memorial, which was incredible, that Trump talked about we want to return to be a nation of God and a nation of
Hmm.
prayer. And so the foundation is really being laid. And I think it's beautiful. It's incredible.
Yeah, I totally agree. And you know, Matthew 24, like we're kind of referring to, says, as Jesus was sitting on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately. Tell us, they said, when will this happen, and what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age? Jesus answered, watch out that no one deceives you, for many will come in my name, claiming I am the Messiah, and will deceive many. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of birth pains.
Right.
So yeah, the earthquakes are happening. Uh, Yesterday, the Philippines, 6.9. A lot of people, unfortunately, were killed in that. Of course, we had the big one in Russia, and the Kamchatka Peninsula. It set off a volcano which is still erupting. So there's more to come, I believe.
Yeah.
So definitely more earthquakes and more volcanoes and tsunamis and all kind of crazy stuff.
One of the things I see, Michael, in scripture is the idea of birth pains. Um, I think we've thought of it in terms of like um, entering into labor and going into full birth pains and full contraction. But I'm not sure, at least up until recently, I ever thought much about what the birth pangs are all about. And I really believe, like, with watching what Trump is doing, and I've mentioned the four carpenters in the past. Maybe I'll touch on that again. Birth of God's kids, like a new Israelite nation that I think in the future is going to run the whole earth as we're restored. But right now we're entering into this time. I think is the time of Jacob or Israel's trouble because the Edomite kings from his brother Esau, they still want to kill him.
Yeah.
And that's really the Eastern Bloc and the BRICS nations. And we're watching the rise of the BRICS nations. And to a large degree, we talk about communism, Marxism, the deep state.
Yeah.
We've let these guys infiltrate
Oh yeah.
in
Very good.
like an incredible, I don't know, probably ever in the history of man. a form of government that we were given.
Yeah. So it goes on to say, then you will be handed over to be persecuted and put to death, and you will be hated by all nations because of me. So
Yeah.
we've seen that, you know, throughout the world. I've traveled quite extensively for like 40 plus years, 45 years or so. And during that time frame, I see that Christians are persecuted more than any other religion. The Jews like to claim they are, but nowhere near what I've seen with the Christians.
That's right.
So that's one of the things that we've seen. Of course, Europe fought against Muslims for like 1,100 years. You know,
Yeah.
the Battle of Tours, I think, was like 700 something in the French areas, and then the Battle of Vienna, where I think King John Sobieski or something like that. Basically, he was Polish king, and he came right at the last moment where they were about ready to come over the walls of Vienna, and he rode in with the cavalry and basically destroyed the Muslim army. And then we've had a lot of other the Crusades and so forth and so on. But there's been a complete after they basically pushed the Muslims out. Now there's been another invasion that they have allowed to happen.
Right.
So this illegal immigration, which has been pushed by the UN, which Trump came in and talked about, that they had paid for the illegal immigration to come in throughout Europe and into the United States. So the United States, we're seeing this basically swelling of the Islamic groups pretty extensively. Not just like there's Christian groups that are like radical. There's Islamic groups that are radical. Jewish groups are radical. You name it. Hindu, Buddhist. There's radicals everywhere.
Yeah.
But the problem is some of them, I think, like when they're newer, they're a little bit more radical and feel like they're superior to everybody else. And so the newest kid on the block is the Muslims, and they're pushing just like I guess Christianity did at one point to like take over.
Right. Right. And Christendom is, like you said, it's been under attack from moment one, when basically they murdered the founder, Yeshua,
Mm.
and when they did that, they even talked about, well, that'll pretty much end this movement. And here we are today with it's probably greater than it's ever been, in like an answer to the prophecy where it says Abraham's kids will be like the stars in the sky. And that's what we see in what I would call his kids, which they're all over the world, but primarily the Western nations.
Yeah. So in this communist, surgence from the Democrat Party has basically it's godless, and it is taken over in a lot of cities, and that's where we're going to see a lot of conflict going forward. These godless cities, the Democrat-run cities,
Yeah.
They've completely turned away from God. So we're turning back towards God. So as that movement starts back towards spirituality, back towards God,
Yeah.
then there's going to be resistance from those that have gained a lot of power and strength by pushing out God. We saw that with the the Israelites early on, and then they were scattered to the four corners of the earth. And this abomination, which is in Israel now, claiming to be where all Jews should be focused, is one of and it's 111 right now, so it's kind of at our time. So that's kind of like angelic, signature of yes, you're on the right track. So yes, thank you. So, but it is an abomination. It was never supposed to have been back there. They were scattered to the wind for a reason. And there's like, even the Cherokees have like the Ten Commandments written down on ancient rock, carved in
Right.
ancient rock. It's crazy, right?
Yeah. The most ancient Ten Commandments that they found, apart from the ancient ones in like, well, they didn't, I don't know that they found any in the Middle East, Israel. We're here in Los Lunas, New Mexico.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I do think it was a Cherokee or the Navajo.
Probably Navajo. Yeah, Cherokee or East Coast. Uh, so
Yeah.
Tennessee and Carolinas and stuff like that. But yeah, the Navajo,
Yeah.
very very spiritual, obviously. So that would make sense to me.
Yeah. Fascinating. It was inscribed in ancient Paleo Hebrew, which would have been what, 5, 6, 800 years BC, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So incredible.
So
They were part of the first diaspora.
yeah.
If who knows, if not earlier.
Yeah, I mean, you pointed that out for a long time. It's been an awakening for me, but I have more and more people that are coming in and revealing that. Like Sheila Holm comes in, she's just got a wealth of information what she brings in. So it's kind of like education, that we're finding out that a lot of Native American tribes here in America and other places throughout the world, and the Himalayas, all kind of crazy stuff. They had all this information long before it was written about in Israel.
Yeah.
So it's like like we're talking about, everything was spread,
Right.
spread, and they weren't supposed to come back and repopulate Israel. That's
And
the deep state. That's the Rothschilds and all all those groups basically pushing that to happen because they're Khazarian mafia. It's a mafia group.
right, right.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that Yeshua talks about. Beware of those that call themselves Yehudim, Jews, but are not. They're of the synagogue of Satan. And
Mm-hmm.
and so that's the sort of the Esau seed line crowd, even though they're technically our brothers, not spiritually, not functionally, not in any relationship to God at all. And they still want to kill us. So just like, Satan's kids, like Cain. And that's, I think that's what we're facing, Ian Michael, in that, like what you just read out of Matthew, that they hated me, they're going to hate you, and they're going to come after you. And I think that's what's happening. But at the same time, we have this incredible, like the beginning of a revival. And I think, Trump and what I see in scripture, they call them the four carpenters. In Zechariah, he says, he's talking like, what do you see? And he says, I see that the Goyim have caused tremendous trouble to my children, to Israel. And then what do you see? And he said, I see these four carpenters coming in. And he's like, what are they doing? And he's basically saying that they're dispersing the deep state. That's how I interpret it. Really says these four carpenters have come to trouble them, to throw down the power of the nations that sort of brought in, infiltrated that communist Marxism, is what I see him saying, and that lifted up their power against Judah and Israel, and that the four carpenters are come to disrupt that and to start breaking them down and dispersing them. And I'm like looking at, I call them the four, like the ones that you pointed out, Trump, Patel, RFK Jr., and Bondi seem to be the primary four, at least in my mind, that are disrupting the deep state, and I don't see it ever coming back. But I had a thought this morning about, I had a friend, so as like this sort of this new awakening, or this return, this foundation, to returning to our foundation, the turning point. I had a friend who was worked with, for those of you who are kind of older, you probably remember Vidal Sassoon, that famous hairdresser back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. So I had a friend that worked for him, and she was, she made a lot of money, and she wanted to go back to her homeland in Poland and and try to teach them how to do hair because the Iron Curtain had just fallen. And she said, and they're just so povertous, they don't know what to do. And after a couple trips, she came back and said, man, I don't know if they're going to get this for a generation or two because they're so mind washed with the way of communism. They don't know what to do with liberty. They don't know what to do with freedom. Like, almost like she did say they were just dumb, and she was sort of shaking her head. And I can't help but to wonder with what's going on. I think about Ben Franklin when after they signed the Constitution, there was that woman outside that said, "What form of government is it, sir?" And he said, "It's a republic, ma'am, if you can keep it." And it's almost like we've become sort of like the Polish, except we have definitely more freedoms, but I'm not sure we're going to know what to do with it. I just, I like, um, I don't know if we know what to do with it. I don't know if have the ability to get up off our ass and do anything about it, because it seems largely a movement coming from Trump and that group rather than it is the people. And the people have to get involved, or it's not going to work.
Yeah, and the recent Charlie Kirk drama that's on the stage right now, and basically has helped a lot of people turn back to God.
Yeah.
However you view that, I view it as basically a captured operation.
Yeah.
He's not dead, and it was made to look like he was being killed, and that's kind of leading us back to what that conversation started. Is the Khazarian mafia potentially was going to kill him, and that was a captured operation, and they stopped it, and then played it out the way they wanted to. So he's in protective custody, in Valhalla, and so forth. Now, Philadelphia, speaking of communism and evil, Philadelphia raises the CCP flag.
Do you have that on a screen? Do you want me to share that?
Go ahead and share that, yeah.
I'm like, what in the world? You got to be kidding me. This can't even be real. Philadelphia to raise a Chinese flag over City Hall to celebrate the founding of the Chinese Communist Party. And so this was what, yesterday, Michael? Like, they did it.
They did it.
And I'm like, okay, this is like shocking. This is exactly what we're talking about as far as the deep state goes. This is their opportunity, just like we've been talking about repentance. And there was a lot of that at Charlie Kirk's and this movement back to its God. But this deep state apparatus has the opportunity to repent as well. And if they don't, they're getting burned down. So, like, take it to heart, you guys. You're not getting away with anything when it comes to God. And so they're celebrating. So this is the city of brotherly love. The birthplace of liberty in America was Philadelphia. My great, like 8 generations ago, my great grandpa landed there in 1739. And he was there during all of the freedom movement and then the fighting with England. And so, like, this is particularly like hyper offensive to me for all these, for just this God loving, like the government that has been established based on God's word. And like, this is like just a spit, like in the face of everybody. Can I share let me share a treaty if I can. This is from the National Archives, the Treaty of Paris of 1783. All right. So my grandpa that I mentioned, he was part of this, you guys. And so when they signed the treaty after the Revolutionary War, listen to what King Edward said when he signed this treaty. In the first article, he said, His Britannic Majesty acknowledges that the United States of America, which is New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, the Providence Plantations, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia. Wanted to mention all those because there's the 13 brothers to be free sovereigns. And so this is incredible. And then he said that free, sovereign, and independent states, that this is incredible. He treats them as such, and for himself and his heirs and successors relinquishes any claims to them and their power and their sovereignty. Basically, you guys, what he was saying is that I acknowledge that these 13, I call them brothers because it's really the 13 tribes of Israel, that these colonies were sovereigns. And he even said that they were sovereigns to be kings comparable to himself into like forever. And all of my posterity, he said, will recognize that forever. Now, while I'm talking about that, if I can just steal the stage here on this, this is one of my law documents called Judicial Notice. I won't get into that, but I just want to talk about the traveling of this sovereignty into, like, even down to today, Michael, where here's what some of the codes say. Here's California government code. It says the people of this state do not yield their sovereignty to the agencies which serve them. And this is really like incredible. It's like still in the statutes and laws today. That they're basically saying you're still sovereign, but you don't have a clue what you are, so you lost it. And now we have guys like Newsom running around saying, we don't care what Trump does. We're going to vaccinate everybody anyway. And we're just going to obey that. So it says this 3 times in the California Code. And here's another one. The sovereignty of the state resides in the people. And then some other Supreme Court case cites that sovereignty itself is, of course, not subject to law, for it is the author and source of law. And in our system, while sovereign powers are delegated to the agencies of government, sovereignty itself remains with the people, by whom and government even exists. And then I'll just share one more. Here's another Supreme Court case, a couple of them. In the United States, sovereignty resides in the people who act either directly or through the organs they established by the Constitution, which would be what we would call government. But, have we ever thought about this? I think about this a lot now. The sovereignty resides in the people who can act directly. Like, imagine that. So I'm going to go ahead and come back to you and just diminish the screen for a minute. Directly, doesn't that sound like, hey, you're fired, without going through the legislature to do that? Or, hey, stop doing that? And we've lost that because we've been mind washed. And the reason I said that, my Polish friend said, man, they've been in this communist Marxist state for so long, I don't think they can function for a generation or two. And I'm wondering, Michael, if that's going to be us. I don't mean necessarily you or me, but as a people, I don't mean your listeners either, because, man, I get to talk to them like every other day, and they're amazing. They're sharp. They know what's going on. They're extremely liberty minded. I just love it. But as a people, I feel like, how long is this going to take?
It's going to not take too much longer because when Trump and Hegseth had their get together with the 800 generals and admirals, they basically mentioned several times that we're going to clean house, so domestic. So they kept reiterating that you swore to defend the Constitution against foreign and domestic.
Yeah.
And Trump said that we're at probably no time ever have we seen domestic or domestically. So,
Yeah.
so at no other time have we seen it this bad. So
Yeah. Never.
And that's part of what we're talking about. This communist takeover.
Yeah.
And communism has never worked anywhere ever because it's godless, and
Right.
it's based. The American people are pushing back. So Trump basically, I believe, put all those generals and admirals on notice that he even joked about it in the beginning. He says, you can agree with me or you can not agree with me. You can get up, you can walk out, but if you do, know that that's probably going to be the end of your career. So, so he put them all on notice. He's joking around, but he's not. Also,
Yeah. No, he's
and I
serious.
think they knew that.
Yeah. And it's amazing how he talks. He talks like I could, like, sort of like you, just calm, almost funny.
Mm-hmm.
And then he could just carry it out.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really cool.
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so we're moving in that direction. We're already seeing it in a lot of places now. He said during that briefing of the admirals and generals that Chicago was next, and so later that day, Chicago had a nice little demonstration with a lot of people saying that we don't want federal troops here. Although every weekend there was, like last weekend, I guess 11 people were murdered in shootings, but everything's okay. And the same thing in Portland. So you have the Portland governor. Same thing in Chicago. You have the governors and the mayors of those major cities are saying that what are you talking about? Everything's fine here. Well, it's fine because you have a corrupt police force which is not putting in all of the tax and crimes that are going on, and that's been in Chicago. There's a group that basically does document that, and the documentation is through the roof with the crimes that are being committed in Chicago.
Yeah.
But if you look at the official statement where they say our crime is down, it is way below what the real numbers are. Same thing in Portland. Same thing in every Democrat shithole out there right now.
We just had a oral scans recently with someone from Chicago, and we were chatting about that, and they said, we don't even go have pizza anymore.
Oh,
You're
God.
going to get, they said where you could, freely, we've all heard of Chicago pizza, right? And they said just a few years ago, they said we could just freely jump in our car, take our friends downtown, and just get out of our car, park, and then walk a couple blocks to have pizza. And they're like, not a chance. Literally today, she said that they don't even go, but they if they went, they'd park their car, they'd walk a block, and they'd get accosted 3 times. Like right blatantly, right on the street, right in front of you, they just get harassed, robbed, slapped around, just accosted. So they're like, nobody goes downtown anymore for Chicago pizza.
Wow.
Incredible. Yeah. So, and it's very strange how the media and the Marxist, Leninist, Satanist on the left would say, oh, well, Trump's trying to remove our freedoms, poor us. The democracy is dying. Sorry, babe. It's already dead downtown Chicago. What are you talking about? Like, these people don't live in any place that's called reality at all.
Yeah. Totally, because in Portland, there's people that go out in the streets. There's people that live, in these neighborhoods, and they're begging. They're like, please bring in the military and
Yeah.
clean our streets up. And you have, like I said, you have the mayor and the governor walking in choice locations with the cameras aimed just at the right
Right.
angle so that they're not picking up the homeless. When I
Right.
was in Portland, when 1980, 81. So I was in Portland in 1981 as a hard hat diver, and it was voted the most beautiful city in America. Absolute rose gardens, just absolutely incredible along the waterfront, beautiful restaurants, and at the time, which was rare, was unusual, one of the first places for that to happen were uh, those beer where they made the beer
Right.
breweries, right? Those early stages of them out, and after that they went all around the country. But they had, I remember going to the where the Capitol is in Portland, and they had homeless laying on the the grass of the Capitol, even all the way back then. So they had this stupid liberal idea, even all the way back then, and look where it has got them. And I remember going back there probably about 10 or 20 years later, and the homeless were like just in droves everywhere. I was back there again maybe about 10 years ago, and it was a disgusting city compared to what it used to be, and that was 10 years ago. And I know, and we've seen the videos of where they're at war. Antifa's at war with people in the streets, and I've seen people that have walked downtown. I remember, like I was talking about, it was like bustling, thriving, and I saw where one person walked through the streets of Portland, and everything is boarded up.
Incredible.
Yeah, it's very sad. So you have this stupid mayor and governor that are basically running around saying everything's good, don't worry. Why? Is there some kind of are they funded to do that, or
Yeah.
they part of this dark
Yeah.
cult that's promoting this?
Yep. That's it. Because when there's one of the things that talks about in Revelation with this deep state sort of demonic side of government was that it became a habitation of demons, literally, and always, in people that I've ever talked to that sort of deal in the spiritual dimension, kind of in the place of the church with exorcism and stuff like that, they're always describing this very thing, just filth, unbelievable levels of filth that
Yeah,
surround this sort of demonic spirit. Uh, Corruption is at the heart of it, but just literally beings, people that would just live filthy. They would live in their own feces, as a matter of fact. And I don't, I hesitate to say this, but I don't know if you remember, like, some of the Secret Service guys that had been around the pretending president called the Ho Man, that said that it smelled like feces and urine a lot of times around them, and you always see pictures of him with flies on his face. That's a sign of that level of filth and corruption. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Wow. Good point. Good point. Yeah, and he's just wandering around like in a daze. His mind's gone. Yet they're they're like everything's fine. Everything's fine, and it's not.
Yeah.
It's like and that wasn't him, of course, but that's another thing where we have these uh, you know actors and actresses that are playing these parts. Trump has talked about that quite a bit. Central casting. When he was talking to all the admirals and generals, he said central casting. Right. So when I was in the military at SEAL Team 6, we would take down cruise ships for training, of course. They were rented out, and we'd come in and basically take down a cruise ship. It was great because they fed us what they would feed, people that
It was
were
a
on the
cruise.
cruise.
We were on a
And
cruise.
I snuck into one of the luxurious staterooms, and they came and found me in the morning. They kicked me out. It was like, but we had trained all night. And I'm like, and they said, don't go on this deck. Of course, I'm a Navy SEAL. I'll do whatever I want, right? I'll sneak around and do what I want. So I like snuck into the stateroom. It was like luxurious, had a bathtub in it, had like, big bed, had a gorgeous view. And I was like, boom, I was out. And I heard the door like creak open early in the morning. I was like, ah. And then I heard it close. And then when we went to our meeting, they were like, make sure you don't go to any of the rooms that we told you guys not to go to. And so no one dined me out. So I was pretty happy about that, but still. But we called them central casting military. Wow. So we had people playing role players that would come in, and some of them would be with guns, and we had guns, of course, and we would shoot them and they would die. And we would rescue the people that were like screaming and everything. And we'd, corral them into an area, and we freed them. And then we go from stateroom to stateroom to stateroom, clearing all the staterooms, killing the terrorists and rescuing the hostages. Role players, central casting. We would do these huge towns that were made for us, and we would go basically urban combat. And same thing, we would free people that were in these houses and so forth that were being held by the terrorists were holding them. Right. So we came in and cleared the terrorists out and rescued the hostages. And so there was different ways you had to move. So again, we would have central casting actors that would come in and play these roles for us. So now a lot of people think that when President Trump, because this is a military thing that's going on in America right now. All right. Yep. So even yesterday, President Trump said, yeah, I was 45 and 46 and 47, but I don't like to claim 46 because, and that was the civil government side that was taken over by the deep state, and they allowed it to happen to expose it and show that to everyone. Remember how they went to Mar-a-Lago and tried to get the suitcase with the codes for the nukes?
Yep.
They were gone. But they raided Mar-a-Lago for that reason, because he had them. Wow. Right during that time frame. So he disclosed it yesterday. So he said he was talking to all the generals. Said central casting. I just want you guys to know central casting. And it's like, okay, are you central casting? Because that didn't look like President Trump to me. Or is he saying that there's a lot of central casting people out there, or this is a military operation? Because I believe that a lot of those generals and admirals that were there, they're not going to be in the military much longer. A lot of them.
Right. That seemed to be almost like clear with what Hegseth and Trump both said. Like, okay, here's how it's going in the future. And some of you guys aren't going to be part of this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
You've already disclosed that message came out on January 1st. I didn't even know that had come out. And Sheila Holm and I talked about this like a couple days ago. And I was like, holy moly. Wow. It basically named all these admirals and generals. General Miley had him named. You force vaccinated. You did this. You did that.
Yes.
And we don't see those. We don't see those people anymore.
Right.
They're gone.
That's right.
Gone. And James Comey, his account is basically, he came out and had that one thing about
yes.
What is it? 38. What is it? What's a term for 48 or something? You're basically kicking somebody out of the bar. I forget what we used to call that, but anyway, he had that on with the seashells. Look, when I was just walking on the beach and see what I see.
Look what I found. I stumbled on this. Look what the waves did.
So he effed around and found out. So once he was indicted, 86, yeah, 86. Thanks,
86. Yeah,
Crystal.
that's right.
Yeah, so
Something
86.
46. Yeah.
So 86, 47, and that's either kick him out or take him out, or what we all know what it means. But Comey's like, ha ha. So he's basically sending a message to all, and this is the way they send their messages. That was a very open way they send a message to all their little minions to go ahead and take this guy out, take out Trump, right? And of course that didn't work out. So when I see President Trump now, most of the time it's not him. So now, was that him yesterday? He spoke very soft, very slow, and very, his voice. If like you saw Pete Hegseth, he came in, he was like talking with authority. So you would think the president would come in and talk with authority, but it was like very, very soft, and you could hear his voice cracking a lot. I'm like, I don't know.
Interesting.
So yeah, so I wouldn't go there. I wouldn't go there in front of a bunch of traitors. You don't know what the heck they might have planned.
Yeah.
And they have their staff that they pick. The traitors are picking staff. Do you think those are good people they picked? Mm-mm.
Good point, because that could have been a decapitation moment for sure.
Yes, decapitation moment. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, very good.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't even think of that. I thought about that in terms of, from an external enemy, but like you mentioned earlier, this domestic enemy where we've allowed external enemies to infiltrate into the domestic peace and tranquility that we had. They're domestic enemies.
Yeah. And Patrick says clones fade. So we've talked about clones for years. So maybe that was one of Trump's clones. So yeah, possible. And I'm not joking around. It's possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Clones fade over time. So, but central casting, he did say central casting.
Wow.
And like I said, in the military, central casting is basically someone that we're going to kill, right? More often than not, someone that's going to be taken out. They're the bad guys. They come in, they role play, we take them out. So,
wow, incredible.
Yeah. So we're seeing a lot of that. All right. So yeah, we have on top of that, we have all kinds of other stuff that's going on. What do you have out there on your radar?
It's unbelievable. So speaking of role playing, I mentioned this last week, and I think it bears repeating because last time we talked about it months ago, I didn't have, even though I talked about it, I didn't have quite this connection. So I'm wondering if this is a false flag. So Angelina's breasts, are they a false flag for women? So I'm going to share my screen here. You guys all remember this. This was huge. It hit the airwaves hot and heavy. And for a woman, this is profound, where she was then going on the stage and saying the BRCA gene was showing up in her because her mother had breast cancer, etc. And so the same gene that they believed was a part of the possibility of having breast cancer was also found in her. And so she did like this. And Michael, I'm like, okay, so from the moment that this was announced very suddenly, she was on People magazine. Like, how long does it take to get on the cover of a People magazine? And I watched this just being rolled out almost instantaneously. And it just so happens that after all of this, where she was all over the television, my first thought was, okay, since this is all public information, how about you just show us? That sounds like a guy thing, I know, but seriously, like, we wouldn't know, because stage acting, these people are all great actors. We love them on the screen. We've watched them over and over. And would we discern the difference between what was real and what was not real in the industry of making vast amounts of money on people's diagnostics.
Mm-hmm.
So let me show you this case, Michael, that this was running at the very same time, exact same time where they rolled this marketing out. This BRCA gene was in the Supreme Court with what's called Myriad Genetics. And they had obtained patents after discovering the precise location and sequence of the BRCA1 and BRCA2 gene mutations. This was what they were trying to do, was trying to own the patents on people's genetics. And this was worth billions of dollars. And so this very company that she was talking about all over television, all over People magazine, that this case was going on that nobody talked about. And this case actually ended up losing in the Supreme Court because they were trying to have a patent and ownership on people's genes. And the Supreme Court said, well, you can't really do that because it's nature and you can't put a patent and own nature. So this was a huge case right at the exact same time that Myriad Genetics was trying to get patents on these genes worth billions and billions in the pharma industry, was when she comes out and talks about this very thing. So I'm going to come back to you now, because I'm like, it's worthy for us to understand like exactly what you're talking about, that, man, it's really hard for us to really discern what's really real and what's not real when it comes to power, when it comes to money, when it comes to spiritual things. And like, that's one of the reasons why I love this truther movement, because you're after the truth that sets us free. And if we stay in the darkness of lies and deception from the enemy, we really don't have hope. Our hope is in God and coming to the truth and his truth and his reality.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, we're definitely moving in that direction. And so Trump was the first president ever to post the Michael Moss, the prayer of Archangel Michael, the warrior prayer. That was like on the 29th. So he posted that on the presidential page.
Yes.
So first president to do that. So we're definitely moving in the direction of bringing God back.
Yes.
And under God's rule, it'll push out the demonic force that's in there, and we'll be guided, like I've been guided, and we've helped a lot of people. So the Saint Michael, the Archangel, defend us in battle, be our defense against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray.
Amen.
And do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, cast into hell Satan and all the evil spirits who prowl about the world, seeking the ruin of souls. Amen. So when I wrote my book, The Intuitive Warrior, I talked about my experience with Archangel Michael, and I've talked about that many times. But in that, there's some synchronicities that happen in my life. And I was invited to Paris to talk to the Boy Scouts of Paris, because they were doing a year-long prayer of love to stop war. So I was like, absolutely, I'll come and talk about that. So it was great because they paid my way. I got to see Paris, on a budget. So it was great. So Tracy and I were walking the streets of Paris, and I was like, I don't know where we're going to go. So we're walking, and we're taking turns, and and then we saw this. We just came around a corner, and we saw Archangel Michael. It's a fountain, very famous fountain in Paris of Archangel Michael. And I was like, because they tried to describe what I saw when I saw Archangel Michael. Now, I didn't see the sword, but this is the face that I saw,
Wow.
and this is the figure that I saw. And it was
Wow.
bright white light, and it was massive. So, and I was like, wow. So it
Wow.
was kind of like one of those synchronistic signs, that we
Yes.
get when we
Yes.
know we're on the right path, we're doing the right thing. So it was tough for me to come out and talk about because I was like an introvert, and I was in the SEAL teams, and then the CIA. You don't go out and talk about anything. You're
Right.
always very secretive.
Right.
So it was very tough for me to come out and do this book. But when I got the invite and then I saw that statue, I was like, okay, I'm on the right path. So I've been, talking about that event, ever since. So it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, that would be totally amazing. I had a friend, speaking of the Archangel Michael, he didn't know which angel it was, but he went on a retreat high into the mountains. And he said that about the second day of their prayer, just him and a friend, he said one late night, they were just talking and praying. And he said that they were in the second story of this rustic old cabin. And he said his friend said, "Get over here, get over here." So he ran to the window, and there were two angels walking back and forth in the front of this cabin. And he said that their heads, they were like 26 feet tall. So I don't know what size Michael is that like when you saw him, but he said these were incredible beings that were massive. They were as tall as the house. And like they were there almost like to let them know that we're with you. Like incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, we're trying to awaken people the best we can, going forward with all the craziness that's out there. Now, I don't know if you've heard the story about the ostriches that are up in Canada.
Hmm.
So there's these not ostriches, yeah, it's ostriches. So these ostriches, basically, their eggs, they've been studying for a long time. It's basically a study that they've been doing. So these ostriches they have within themselves, because they're ancient, they've been able to survive, throughout time. They have within their bodies and in their eggs and so forth the ability to overcome all kinds of diseases. COVID gets knocked out. I've eaten ostrich eggs; they're fantastic. And so the United Nations and of course the WHO and all that, they sent their minions, the Canadian Special Police Force, like 200 of them, helicopters and drones and like 100 vehicles and all kind of crazy stuff to take down this this farm, this ostrich farm, because they're studying why the ostrich has the ability to fight and overcome all these diseases, which they're trying to inject in us, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so there's been a real battle about that. I guess RFK Jr. basically said, "We'll transport all those ostriches." I guess they have like 70 or 100 or 200. I don't know how many they got. "We'll transport all those ostriches to Florida. We'll pay for it, and we'll continue the study." And the Canadian government's like, "No, we're going to kill them." And so
Unreal.
there's like this legal battle that's going on right now. It's crazy, absolute evil.
Very evil.
It's near
Typical.
400 ostriches. So somebody in the chat's like near 400 ostriches. So yeah, it's crazy, crazy stuff.
Yeah. That's been happening for how long? Even in America, where they're shutting down real research that would really, real science
Mm-hmm.
that would really benefit men, women, children. It's incredible. That's been the war against us
Yeah,
for how long? Yeah. And I think eventually Manasseh, the Canadians, I think they're from the house of Manasseh. would be Joseph's youngest, two boys. But yeah, they have a lot to learn still. I trust that they'll come to it, but their people got to wake up too.
Yeah. Now, Sharon says we care about the birds, but not the children. No, we care about all living things that are being attacked by the deep state. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
But a lot of people don't want to believe in what's going on with the children, and most of them are Democrats, because the Democrats basically over the 4 years before Trump came back, they 300,000 children went missing. Now they found 11,000 of them, but they're not revealing what they found because it's so horrific. Because people wouldn't be able to handle it. But people are like, and I mean, I'm really at this point, I'm like, if you're with the Democrat Party after you know that,
Yeah,
come on.
yeah.
Where's your humanity?
There has to
What
be.
the hell is wrong with you at this point?
Yeah, yeah. It has to be like you're complicit at this point. But I think people's egos are so large, um, that they don't want to admit they've been wrong.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's easier just to keep going along with the evil than it is to say, I've been wrong the whole time. Even though there's a lot of people doing that still, like, and I asked the question, so in God's eyes, who's going to pay for all that?
Hmm.
Because, as a dad, when we're trying to teach our kids responsibility, like, you can make that choice if you want, but what are you going to do when you have to pay the penalty for what you did?
Yeah.
Time to own it.
And this is Lisa. She says she lives in British Columbia, Canada.
Awesome.
I am reading, but I got rid of my cable TV in 2022 because it was worse than useless. I think that's the way most people in the world are. At least I haven't had it for a way before then even. I have been reading books since then. But, Lisa, at least you're, come in and getting the news from us. We appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful woman. I had family that did that. They were off grid, nothing. And they had candles at night, Michael. It was like they had a cabin, and it was like, so at
Beautiful.
night we would sit around the candles or the fire and read books. And that was hard for me coming out of like the high energy Southern Cal lifestyle. But I was like, there's really something to that where you have to sit around and start talking to each other. Relationships again. It's so easy just to sit around and rely on the television and everything else to do the work for us. But it was special.
Nice.
Wow.
No TV in 20 years. Bravo. You win. I think you win.
That's it.
So I still watch TV. I still, occasionally do shows on, the internet shows, Apple TV and Apple TV Plus, whatever. But it is, it's a challenge. And like you talked about the cabin, I remember I did that for one weekend with some friends long time ago up in the California mountains. And it was a stone cabin that I guess had been built before the turn of the last century. So it was like 1890, 1880, 1890, something like that. And it was stone. So at night it got cold, but the fire, you built a fire and it heated all the stone in the room. So you could go around, you could it was like so warm. I was like, how is it that one fire is like warming up the whole room like it is? So you go around and touch the stone, and the stone was hot and warm from the fire. I was like, wow,
Incredible.
that's magnificent. Yeah, very, very, very interesting. And it was like there was no electricity, candles, and it was, there was a bunch of us there, and we had a really good time. It's like weekend. Stone cabins are awesome. Yeah.
Awesome.
Radiant heat. Yep, that's true radiant heat. So.
And there's nothing like a wood burning stove or a great fireplace that really radiates a lot of heat. Incredible.
absolutely. All right, so we have we have some specials. I
Specials are
believe.
still the same as
Yep.
last
Okay.
week. So we're on just a few more days on the specials, which is the clay honey.
Mm.
So grab that while you have a chance, and then jump in on the disease discovery. It went out. Just everybody should have it in their mailbox, and then the live meeting will be tomorrow. Nope, Friday at noon. So everybody who grabs that, you can access that even in the show notes. So it's for the buyers of the specials, which are down below in the show notes. And I've talked to like a lot of people this week.
Okay.
You guys are amazing, and just talking about using the clay with endotoxins, using the clay in your oral health, and it's just fantastic for detox, purifying everything, even your food. So that's the special this week. And
So there's
also,
also the spend 500 and
yeah,
get some discounts as well. So you don't have they're basically going to load the discounts in your box, guys, when you buy it.
yep,
So you don't need to like get a ask for. Well, I didn't get any message, but
right.
it's going to be there. So watch when your box comes. It'll have whatever special is
That's right.
that if you're buying a certain amount or whatever. So it'll come. They always do it.
It's automatic and
Automatic.
automatic. Yeah. And so everybody that's in the oral scans and the body scans is on fermented cardio NF because it helps to clear biofilm out of the circulatory tree, out of the spleen. Now I just want to touch on something real quick, and I'll finish next week. That perhaps one of the greatest aging problems that we have in our body is when our body makes red blood cells. If the body's malnourished, and if the body has infection, then it malforms red blood cells. And then these malformed red blood cells become a veritable fountain of oxidative stress, damaging everything that comes in contact with, because it's really a damaged item. So if you could imagine anything that we would create that's living that would be damaged or injured, that it becomes actually like a dead item inside your body. And so the body's reaction to it is tremendous immune reaction. And so the body's so when a malformed red blood cell is just floating through the body and it's spewing oxidative stress into the arteries, into tissue, into the lungs, everywhere it's going, there's a lot of inflammation. And the one thing that I use for that, you guys, I've said it before, it's my most beautiful superfood is the intuitive fermented beets.
Mm.
Because of the nutrient factors that this has that no other nutrient on the planet has. And the item is called trimethylglycine. And so what happens is that this ingredient, when it's combined with living potassium, like from the intuitive oceans, or you eat a fresh tomato or banana, and you combine it with the fermented beets, then it forms what are called methyl donors. And it does a couple of things. As we age, we're losing methyl groups from every cell very rapidly, and especially in an aging situation where our bone marrow is creating malformed red blood cells, a tremendous stress of aging on our body, which 100% of everyone who has an infection is going to be making malformed, sort of toxic red blood cells. So when we talk about oxygen delivery and things like that, nitric oxide, oxygen delivery, no one's ever mentioned these malformed red blood cells before until like right now in Michael's show. And so I love to use the beets for this because it remethylates and helps the bone marrow to make properly formed, perfectly formed red blood cells. And then it keeps them and maintains them in the spleen and in the thymus and in the bloodstream and in the heart. And it helps. So the beets also, because they have betaine and trimethylglycine, what that does is it attaches to the oxidative stress or the damaged cell and it starts to dissolve it. And so it's like, that's why it's my favorite superfood, because it's the grading, probably the greatest anti-aging, anti-wrinkle, reverse aging formula ever. The lowly fermented beet. Beets, not even close to being the same, but the fermented beet is incredible because it's already pre-digested, has prebiotics, probiotics, and postbiotics for the microbiome. Anyways,
fermenting is like a superfood.
Yeah,
you can do the natural beet, like we do it in juice all the time, but the fermented is on another level, so it's even better.
That's right.
So it also enhances stem cell and growth proliferation. So if you're using LifeWave, this enhances your LifeWave products.
Yes.
So if you're interested in the LifeWave and you want to like join with Denise Love, you're joining the team that Raphael is involved with.
Yeah.
Because they work together. They're a couple. So
right.
It's you're getting more bang for your buck if you join with them. And she's on my team. So you're getting also joining the Jaco tribe, which is
right.
grown tremendously
over
the last year. Thanks to you guys. Mm-hmm. Tremendous growth.
I love the team. I love you guys. Everything that's going on, it's incredible. It's like world leading, I think. Yeah. Tip of the spear.
Tim Potter, I have fermented alcohol many times. Cheers.
We're gonna have to hang out with Tim.
All right. Awesome. Great show, Raphael. Lots of love to you guys. And we'll see you guys next time.
Awesome.